Alright, so with the majority of the main bit of the work done, everything's sealed in place here and we're ready for the final basic scenic touches essentially. And this is my favorite part, adding the final details. So I've went ahead and picked up some more materials, and this is going to be the final part of this video series. We're going to do all the detail work to it. So I went ahead and picked up some Fine Turf by Woodland Scenics. This is earth tone, and this is basically like a dark earth color. And this is what I like to put into these dark green grassy fields to kind of neutralize them, blend them out, and make it look a little bit more natural. So I have the earth tone. We're going to be using some of this. And I've also picked up some wonderful products I'd like to share with you guys. These are static grass tufts. These are what you use to model bushes, weeds, shrubs, anything like that. And these are very common along the right-of-way. As you can see, they look very, very nice. These are by Shadow's Edge Miniatures. These are absolutely wonderful products. They have self-adhesive backing, so they basically can be taken off these sheets and applied to where you need them. I absolutely love these products. I'm surprised they're not advertised more, but if you take a look here, you guys can see how good those look. And you can get them in many different colors. You can find them on eBay. They're very cheap as well. They're like $6 a package. And as you can see, you get quite a few. I mean, this is enough to do a couple modules if you're careful. So I have basically some dark green colors I'm going to be using for this guy here. I also have some dead grass. As you can see, these are more of like an autumn kind of a color. And then I also have some basically some dead shrubs as well. This is going to actually a color I'm going to be using on a different module, one of my own, but it just kind of goes to show you guys can see you can get many different kinds of these shrubs, and these are absolutely wonderful for detailing scenes like this. So we're going to be going ahead and started to apply a couple of these, and again we'll start applying some fine turf. So as you'll see, this will really help tone down some of this bright green grass. I still want to keep some of that bright green grass, but again, I always use it just as an undertone. So I'll go ahead and just sprinkle some of this in here. Also note, I'm putting this over the bushes too. But it doesn't take much. You guys can kind of see these tufts right out of the package. You can see they're really nice looking. And these are... So as you guys can see, we have some of these tufts out of the package. They're sitting on my module here, and we're ready to go ahead and start applying them. And these are a great little detail feature to add to the sides of your main line, especially on your siding tracks like this. You see a lot of weeds like this. So I basically want to go ahead and start installing some of these. And all you need to do is take a pair of tweezers like this. And if you can see, I'll just basically start peeling some of these off. And I'm just going to start applying them. Just a small little layers at a time. And you can work pretty fast with these too, which is really nice. It doesn't take that many. I'm not going to go too crazy, but I want these to have, I want this main line, is what I'm trying to say, to kind of have a sense of disuse, really. So I'm just going to kind of scatter them here and there. I'll put a few alongside the main line as well. Of course, another place you're going to see these a lot is alongside the mainline tracks. You'll have these tall weed shrubs growing, and so I just take a few and build them around my bush shrubbery that I've put down earlier, and just kind of make a small little bunch of them here. Now, even though these are self-adhesive backed, really, I will still go over all this with a final coat of Woodland Scenic cement just to make sure everything's 100% sealed in place. In this particular case, I'm going to have to ship this module too, so making sure that everything's actually 100% intact is even more important in this case, because obviously I don't want anything to come off here, but I'm just going in adding some final details here with these bushes. And as you can see, they're looking really good. Alright, so you guys can kind of see where we're at here. You can see all the weeds and everything along the side of the right-of-way and the road. We got the turf basically blended out here, so you can see it's a lot more of a realistic tone, and you get a lot more of the earth tones along the side of the road. So I built up a heavier layer of the earth ground foam around kind of that border between the road and the grass. And then I put, of course, the shrubs and everything and the weeds, blended them together, make it look a little bit more natural. And then along the right-of-way, on the lowest section of track, the lesser used main here, you can see all the weeds. So we got all the little bushes and everything basically completed. Now looking at all the track here, you can see it's still wet. Obviously I just put another coat of Another coat of Woodland Scenic cement on there. Now over here, you guys can see all the shrubbery along the tracks. There's especially around the post for the signal there, and just continuing to work along here. And then looking at the field, you guys can see really how nice that looks after that's all been blended together. We got a nice wild field here leading up to the track, so it looks especially nice here. So I'm really happy with it so far. We got one or two more things to do at this point, and I'm going to go ahead and take care of this in the next step here, and we'll wrap up. So one last thing I'm going to do here before I wrap up this project and put the final coat of Alright, so one last thing I'm going to do before I put the last coat of scenic cement on this ballast and everything else is to go ahead and install some Rick's cross poles here. So the last thing I'm going to do here is install some telephone poles along the right-of-way here, and a lot of times you'll see this in yards. They'll usually use a lot of old telegraph poles and stuff and reuse them and put you know, lights and stuff on them for yard use. So in this particular case, the yard I'm modeling here that the customer wants has some poles, and so I'm going to supply him with some poles. So basically what I'm going to do is drill some holes. I'm going to install 3 of these Rick's Products telephone poles. These are really good products to use. The really tall ones here, I'm using the large crossbars. They're not fully assembled yet, but I'm going to just drill the holes for them first, and then I'll go back and install the finished ones. But this is just an example of what I'm going for. So I'm taking a drill bit through my drill here, and I just basically chose a bit that's closest to the diameter of the telephone pole itself, and I'm just going to essentially start in each one of these corners by drilling small holes like this just through the ballast and the wood, just to mark them. Let's see, maybe I'll go a little bit more over here. Yeah, we'll just go back in this corner here. So I just drill through the bend work. So nothing crazy there. Go about maybe center on this one, so about right here, I'd say, right in the center. If you stir up a little ballast like that, it's alright. We're going to seal that back in place later. So just like any other kind of project, if you were doing scenery on an actual, you know, so just like if you were doing scenery on an actual model railroad, you always want to clean your track off. The importance of this is extremely important, obviously. So obviously it's extremely important to clean off your track after you've done any kind of work like this. In this particular case, I went ahead and polished off these two, and I just simply use an old beat up blade, X-Acto chisel blade, and I like to just run across the top of the rails to peel that paint off, and you can see it comes off pretty easily since it is spray paint. And then I just go back, clean off the excess, and you can do this very quickly, as you can see, with a steady hand. Now if this was an operating module, what you would do at this point is basically go back and finish tidying up the track with a Bright Boy track cleaner, or you can use some isopropyl alcohol on a Q-tip, paint thinner, anything to basically give the rails a fine polish to prep them to run trains on them. In this particular case, since this is a non-operating module, I'm not going to worry about that as much, just as long as I get the tops of the rails cleaned off enough that they're shiny so that they look a little bit more realistic. Alright guys, so here it is. We're done. So this module came out pretty well. I'm really happy with it. You guys can see in full sunlight it looks absolutely gorgeous. It looks really nice. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm going to take some pictures with it right now and send to this buddy of mine. That way you can kind of see what it looks like. But you guys can see I basically have everything laid out here. So I've went ahead and pre-installed the telephone poles, and I got the BLMA signal, which I'll show here. So if I take this off the tripod, we can again kind of look at our work a little bit, kind of at ground level. So like basically if you're taking photographs, this is your ground level. And his idea is to basically set this up so you can imagine if you have a tree backdrop or anything like that using like real trees, real lighting, you basically have this set up on a table, and so you're looking at it at an angle like this. Obviously I'm in a residential neighborhood here in Findlay, so I mean you have to kind of ignore the houses right now, but you get the basic idea. And just a really nice look at the scenery here though real quick. You guys can see how nice it looks. Everything's really well blended out, looks really good. Got the BLMA poles installed. You guys can see how good those look. All set up. Looking at the main lines here, you guys can see how nice that looks. We got the low siding, the track 2 and track 3 here. As you can see, the ballast and everything turned out really well. You guys can see the ground cover, kind of some weeds starting to sprout in between the tracks here, and of course the significant weeds here. You guys can see all that. Essentially, it's just like being standing right by the tracks. That's the illusion here. I really like it. Looking at this side here, you guys can see we're kind of in the grassy field right now. But it all looks really good. There's the signal. As you guys can see, you can set the cars up and everything just how you want it. In this particular case, say I was taking a shot at ground level, basically something like this, where say I was looking at these two beautifully weathered C&D cars, and I wanted to have the background blocked out. You can see you can use a box car or something like that to kind of be your background. So if you look at it this way, it's like you're in a real rail yard. And that's really where these modules kind of come in. I mean, you can do some crazy things with these, like great ways to, just basically show these cars off and make them look more realistic. So you guys can see just how good just the cars look themselves on the layout here. So this is another good example here. With the space that I have on this trackage, you can essentially set up a train in the background as well to kind of be a shot block so you don't see the background. And you can set up the individual car you want to photograph, take video of, whichever, and you can have it set up so that you have that false background. And again, you can take pictures of the individual car like this. And you get all the nice detail, everything in the natural lighting, so everything pops out really well, as you can see. So again, just really, really, really nice to have these modules. Alright guys, so I'm calling this one a job well done. Hope you liked the video. I definitely had a lot of fun building this. I can't wait to get it out and about so I can take some more pictures of it before it's no longer in my possession. I really wish I could kind of hold on to it. I really like this. I might have to build one of these myself, but again, it just really shows how easy these are to build. And it only takes a few simple materials and a few bucks to buy some scenery materials, and you can build something like this relatively easily. So hope you guys liked the video. You guys can of course follow more work if you want to see more stuff like this and see more of my photography on some of my own modules. You guys can of course, like I said, subscribe on YouTube. You guys can follow me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Dance Custom Trains, Daniel Arnold. You can look me up on there and follow my work there. On Instagram, it is all lowercase, CoolHandDano5. You guys can again follow my work there. I'm always posting pictures of my own projects, other people's projects, anything that I'm working on at the moment, so you guys can follow me there. So again, that'll wrap up this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Take it easy.